All right, well, thanks for watching this video. I wanted to spend some time here with Dr. David Baggett from Houston Baptist University and introduce you guys to him if you haven't heard of him before or aren't familiar with his ministry. So I first got to know Dr. Baggett. I'd read several of his books as I was working on my PhD studies. He concentrates in the moral argument for God's existence. But then I was so delighted my mentoring professor, Dr. Welty, asked him to serve on my PhD dissertation committee, which was just a great surprise. I had really wanted that and had told Dr. Welty that, but ultimately in those situations, the mentoring professor gets to choose. And so he reached out to Dr. Baggett and he accepted that role and got to know him better through that. And then we've just kept in touch, emails and phone calls. We've talked. He's given me a lot of encouragement and advice in my studies and writing. But all through those last few years, we had never met in person. So just recently, we brought him up to the University of Nebraska here to speak a couple times the last couple days. And so I thought, well, while he's in Nebraska, I'll go ahead and bring him on over and interview him and make sure you guys are all familiar with his ministry. So thank you so much for being willing to do this.
Yeah, I'm thrilled.
And so tell us more about your role at Houston Baptist University and how that came about, and what's your primary focus there?
Sure. And let me first say it was a real honor, to serve on your committee. And I loved your work. I thought it was so terrific, and it's really cutting edge. Extending this theistic ethics material beyond generic theism to something more distinctively Christian and a Trinitarian. I just thought it was wonderful work. And I remember when I was reading it, I just kept thinking, this guy's going to do some serious writing in the years to come. So it was a real privilege and thrill to be part of that. At Houston Baptist, I'm a professor of philosophy, and I teach in the Apologetics department of the School of Christian Thought. So I largely teach philosophical apologetics types of courses, so arguments for God and philosophical theology, moral apologetics, and things like that. Mm-hmm. And my department chair is my wife, Mary Beth Baggett.
Nice.
So she gets to boss me around at home and work.
That's great. And what does she teach, and what other things does she do at the university?
Yeah, so she's an English professor, actually.
Okay.
And but she also does teach a little bit in the apologetics department, the cultural apologetics stuff, especially the writing class. And so she teaches English classes for the English department and a few courses for the apologetics department as well. But she's also really just prodigiously gifted as an administrator. And before we left our previous school, she had been given a position, and I thought she had done so well. And I thought it really demonstrated that she had some real talents and gifts in that area. And so when we went to HBU, we were hoping that maybe a door of opportunity would open for her like that to do some more administration. And it didn't look like anything was forthcoming. There just were no openings like that in the English department. But then out of the blue, our dean, Phil Talon, called Mary Beth and invited her to serve as the department chair of apologetics. And I thought that was a brilliant idea. And Mary Beth agreed to it. And she's been on a bit of a learning curve, learning it all. But she's the right person for the job.
Praise God.
And so she teaches a variety of courses, but her specialization is American literature. And she loves Kurt Vonnegut.
Interesting. Yeah, I'll say too, going back to my dissertation, so it's getting published as a book this fall by Kriegel Publications, and I asked Dr. Baggett to write the foreword to my book. So I'm really glad that he agreed to do that, and looking forward to that coming out. Now, I know you've told me, at Houston Baptist University, then you also, both you and your wife, run a Moral Apologetics Center. Is that right? Or what's the official name, and what exactly does the center do?
Yeah, right. Well, a big reason why we came to HBU was because I was trying to find a home for this center that I wanted to start. At the time, I was calling it the Center for Moral Apologetics. And I'll talk about what that's about in just a second. But I wrote various college presidents, and several expressed interest, but none the sort of enthusiasm that Dr. Robert Sloan at HBU showed. And he really said, look, I believe in this, and I would like to see it happen at HBU as soon as we can make it happen. And within about 2.5 years after that, we were brought in, and so that was a real gift. So the Center for Moral Apologetics has been renamed. I wanted to take the name apologetics out of it, not because I'm opposed to apologetics or anything. I mean, I teach apologetics. But sometimes people don't quite know what apologetics is, or the term is off-putting or something.
Yeah.
And really what the goal of the center is to explore the foundations of ethics. And so I renamed it the Center for the Foundations of Ethics.
Okay.
And what we wanted to do at HBU was really build a center that could form a community of scholars from various disciplines who would be involved in exploring implications of theistic ethics and moral apologetics, really to take the moral argument in all of its various forms and flesh it out better, and work out problems and issues, and answer questions, and apply and extend it. There's been tremendous, rigorous, groundbreaking work in the cosmological argument and the teleological argument. I'm really convinced that a community of scholars could do the same kind of level of rigorous work on the moral argument. And the kind of stuff that you did in your dissertation in extending theistic ethics to Christianity, that's a vital part of what it's about, right? So subjecting secular ethical theories to critical scrutiny, laying out versions and variants of theistic ethics, defending moral realism against objections, all of these are part of what we're up to. And the way in which we're going about it, there's a variety of initiatives. We've started a little publishing arm of the center called the Center for Moral Apologetics. We've started a book series on apologetics and popular culture, and Mary Beth is the series editor of that, and you're going to be contributing a book to that, I do believe.
Yeah, I'm excited. We're going to do a book on, the plan is right now to do a book exploring the apologetics and philosophical issues that come up in Christopher Nolan's movies. So like Interstellar, Inception, Memento, the Batman trilogy.
Yeah.
So super excited to work with you guys on that.
Yeah, we're excited as well. We're thrilled to have you. Of course, we continue to run moralapologetics.com. We'd started that years before. And there, again, we invite folks from a wide array of disciplines to contribute short pieces exploring various facets and aspects of moral apologetics and such. And then at HBU, sort of the formal educational component right now, where that stands is next summer of 2023, we'll be starting a certificate program in moral apologetics. And this will be a 2-summer program, 2 courses each summer. And the 4 courses will correspond with the tetralogy that Jerry Walls and I have written. Well, we're working on the 4th now. But one book, then one course will focus on the book Good God, and sort of explore issues of how do we defend theistic ethics against various objections, like Euthyphro objections and whatnot. And then another course sort of critiquing, subjecting to critical scrutiny, various and sundry secular ethical theories and approaches by folks who want to hold on to moral realism, who want to say, look, we don't need God, we can still be just as committed to robust moral realism. And then another course on the history of the moral argument, which is this remarkably fertile area. I mean, when we worked on that book, we just were astounded to find the richness of this history. So many thoughtful luminaries from that history to explore, from Sorley to Taylor to Newman to Kant to so many others, and a whole plethora of contemporaries. And then finally, the 4th one. What is the 4th one? Oh, a book, a course connected with our book, Defending Moral Realism, which is the book that we're actually writing now.
Okay.
And the funny thing about that is, it's the fourth book that we're writing, but logically it comes first.
Oh.
Because, the whole moral apologetic enterprise is sort of predicated on something like moral realism. If you don't have that, then you've sort of lost the grounds for arguing for something on the basis of it.
You can't even get off the ground unless
Right.
you have that first. No, that's a good point. Well, that's really exciting, and all of these books have been published with Oxford University Press, right?
Yes.
Okay. The other book that you were telling me about, too, that's kind of in the works, that I'm really excited about, is more of an anthology, I guess, with John Hare at Yale and Robert Adams, which are probably the two biggest names in this field over the last, 20, 30 years. And you're working on a book with them, and then you said there was maybe a conference that might come out from that, right? So tell us more about that.
Yeah, so the book idea is exciting. So, I kept looking at the kind of the whole field of moral apologetics, and I kept realizing, my goodness, it's just so big. There's so much to do here, and who's going to live long enough to do all of this? And so finally, I thought, well, one way we could do it is, kind of farm it out and kind of come up with the outline to cover the whole field and see all the various chapters that would need to be written. And then instead of, say, trying to write them all myself, I could say to Terence Cuneo, hey, would you write this chapter? And John Hare, would you write this chapter? And Robert Adams, would you write this other? So who knows if these people are going to say yes and whatnot. So I thought, well, I'll try to get John Hare to co-edit the book with me, a big name there. And I thought he might like the project and believe in it and get behind it. And, of course, lend his sort of, cachet and gravitas to the project, and he agreed.
That's wonderful.
Remarkably. So, yeah, he's my co-editor, and that's just terrific. I love his work, and I have for years, as I know you have as well. So then, I started extending invitations, and I was just so thrilled to see so many significant scholars sign on. And I don't have the full list right here in front of me, but including Robert Adams.
Yeah, that's incredible.
He was the last guy for me to get, and he's actually going to write the culminating chapter at the very end of the book, extending the moral argument beyond theism to Christianity in particular.
Okay.
When that happened, I just could hardly believe it. I was thrilled.
That's so exciting. Yeah, well, I'm definitely, if the conference comes about, I definitely will come down to Houston and be there for that.
Yeah, and so the conference, I'm applying for this grant, and it's looking good that we're going to be able to get it, and then we'll take that money if we can get it, some money that the center will be able to punch into it and whatnot, and put on a really great conference. The collection, as it stands, has 27 chapters, right? And so I'll be extending invitations to practically all of these people. I don't know if they'll all be able to come. Some are in Europe and such. But we'll do what we can and get as many of them there as we're able and put on a killer conference. Now, each year, HBU puts on this Apologetics Day. We just had ours this year about a week ago. And that was a lot of fun, Michael Ward was a keynoter, and Lou Marcos and Jerry Walls. Well, next year we're going to do the same thing as we do each year, Apologetics Day, but we'll do that at a local church on a Saturday. But Thursday and Friday we're going to have a pure academic conference based upon the contributors to this collection. This is at least is the plan. And so Thursday, Friday, Saturday will be a 3-day conference this time, all on moral apologetics, on some aspect or other of the moral argument. And it's going to be epic. I really think it's going to be amazing, and we hope that it helps put HBU on the map as a preeminent place to study this stuff.
That's really neat. Yeah, I'm so excited for you and your center there and the school. Sounds like just a lot of neat things going on. So besides your books and what'd you say, moralapologetics.com, is there any other way that people can benefit from your ministry or your writing? You said there's a bulletin that you do with Paul Copan and Paul Gould, or any other thing that you would like to share.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So, that's an exciting initiative I'm part of the what's called the Worldview Bulletin, and so we each write an article a month, and then a roundtable question a month, this sort of thing. The team is Paul Copan, Paul Gould, Melissa Kane Travis. Chris Reese, he's sort of the driving force behind it, our fearless leader, and then I'm privileged to be part of it too. And so, yeah, these are all dear friends and colleagues, and I love to work with them. I respect them so much. It's been really so professionally satisfying to be a part of this endeavor. And so I'm thrilled to do that. And yeah, people can get a little subscription each month for just a very small amount, and read up each month these various contributions. So yeah, that's a thrill to be part of absolutely. And I guess in addition to the books with Jerry Walls, and then that collection, a few other things. William Lane Craig and I are going to write a book on the moral argument. Did you know that?
I think I had heard that, yeah.
Yeah. Because he and I taught a course at HCU on it.
Yes.
Yeah. And so afterwards I said, hey, what do you think about doing a book together? And he agreed.
That's
so
exciting.
That was a thrill. And yeah, it was Baker that gave us the contract. Initially, they said no, but I revised the proposal, and then they said yes. So that was really cool. But I like what Baker does. I like the look of their books, and they're really professional. And looking forward to that. So after I'm done with this book on moral realism, I'm working with Jerry on now, I'll turn my attention to that book.
Okay.
And then Mary Beth and I wrote a more popular book on the moral argument and various of its aspects, called The Morals of the Story. And so that's out there too for folks who might want something a little bit more accessible.
I just bought that. I haven't started reading it yet, but when we started talking about the looking at things in pop culture, your wife recommended that to me to read, to kind of get an idea of what she's looking to do. And so I bought the book, but haven't started reading it yet.
Okay, cool. And a dream of mine, in addition to this other vision casting we're doing about the center, is that one day I'll get Adam Johnson down there to Houston to be part of the center.
That might very well happen. Yeah, that would be exciting. Well, good. Well, thanks for watching this video again, and I just want to share my appreciation once again to Dr. Baggett for coming up to Nebraska and dealing with this cold weather. I'm sure it's a bit colder up here than it is in Houston. We woke up to snow this morning, but he spoke twice here at the University of Nebraska, and I know the students really enjoyed having him and benefited from all of his study and research and sharing that. Last night he gave a presentation in our Ratio Christi ministry on C.S. Lewis's book, is it When We Have Faces?
Till We Have Faces.
Till We Have Faces. And that was very intriguing. It's one of C.S. Lewis's books that I have not read yet, but it's on my list now. So thank you for coming up here and being a part of our little ministry here for a few days and then doing this interview with me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I've really had such a good time, and the people of Nebraska have just been so wonderful to me. They're like the salt of the earth, and I've loved the local food, including, what's the one I like?
We're going to hit Runza one more time on the way out of town.
Yes, I love the Runza.
Well,
and everyone's been so great. So thank you so much. It's meant so much to me. I've had just a delightful time.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I'm about ready to take him back to the airport in Omaha to fly home. But we talked about it, and we said, yeah, maybe it might be good to hit Runza one more time on the way out. So thank you so much.
Thank you.